A sterile man sold his wife to a billionaire who needed a child, but regretted it instantly. Welcome to Dark Voices, where we uncover the most shocking stories. Daniel was infertile, so he sold his live-in partner to a man who desperately wanted a child for a large sum of money. Unbeknownst to the woman, the contract she signed had a hidden marriage contract mixed in. Isabelle furrowed her brow in confusion when she saw their table loaded with delicious food. On top of that, her boyfriend Daniel was in a good mood, even humming a tune while placing the rest of the food on the table. "Come sit, Isabelle," Daniel said cheerfully, pulling out a chair for her to sit. "What's going on?" she asked, still puzzled as she took a seat. "That's a lot of food. Just yesterday, we practically had nothing. You don't even have a job. Where did you get this?" His smile vanished, and he gave her an annoyed look. "Stop asking questions and just eat," he said, voice tight. Her fists clenched. "So I can't even ask you anything now? After Mrs. Lawson slapped me because you haven't paid your debt? You don't even wonder why my cheek is swollen?" "I'll pay her back," he replied in a calmer tone, placing food on her plate. "Just eat first. Surely by now, you're used to that nosy old bat. She's too snobbish. Besides, Isabelle, I don't want any bad news today. Don't ruin this." She fell silent. She wanted to cry but held back because she'd promised herself she wouldn't cry in front of Daniel ever again. Can you believe what happens next? Stay tuned to Dark Voices for the shocking twist. "So anyway," Daniel continued, "I prepared this feast because I have good news, Isabelle." He gently held her hand. "You love me, right?" She stayed quiet. "No matter how hard life has been for us, you've never left me." "That's how much you love me," Daniel said in a serious tone. "We've never been blessed with a child, Isabelle, and to be honest, I regret taking it out on you when I'm actually the reason we don't have one. I'm infertile. I've accepted that." So he'd finally accepted it. Maybe now he'd stop hurting her whenever he got drunk, stop blaming her for being worthless. "So what are you getting at, Daniel?" she asked. "You regret hurting me whenever you're drunk? Are these bruises I have just your version of love, Daniel? I'm so foolish to stay with you, even if this isn't right anymore. I keep holding on, hoping you'll change, because I love you." He squeezed her hand. "I love you too. Of all the women in this world, I chose you. I love you so much, and if you love me," he paused to take a deep breath, "I hope you'll agree." She felt a sudden rush of anxiety. "Agree to what, Daniel? You know I'm in debt, right? And I found a way to pay it off, so no one will bother us, so we can have a better life. There's a man who's looking for a woman to give him a child. He wants a child, no wife. He only wants an heir. I sold you to him." Her eyes widened, and she pulled her hand away from his. "Daniel, I already got half of the money, Isabelle," he reached for her hand again. "That's why we have all this good food now, and I'll pay off what I owe Mrs. Lawson and everyone else too. You just need to give the man a baby." "Have you lost your mind, Daniel?" she shot up, staring at him in disbelief. "Who do you think you are to do this to me? You sold me?" "It's not like that," he stood as well. "I can't give you a baby. What else is the use of your womb, right? Just this once, for the money. $3 million is on the table, Isabelle. Are we really going to pass that up?" She shook her head. "I won't agree to this madness." "You have no choice," Daniel said, gripping her wrist tightly. "That's why I prepared this feast. This is your going away party. Mr. Harrington will be picking you up here." She didn't let him finish. She slapped him. "You're shameless, Daniel." Her tears finally fell. "You're proving now that you can trade me for money." He shook his head and almost embraced her. "No, never. I'm not trading you away, Isabelle. I just need to do this so we can have a good life. Don't you want that?" He placed both hands on her face, and they looked at each other. "I know you've always dreamed of a comfortable life, and I haven't been able to give you that, Isabelle. I promise, once you give that man a child, we'll get married and move away from here. Start fresh. She shook her head. No, come on, Isabelle, he pleaded. She gasped when he knelt in front of her. I know I haven't been a good boyfriend, but this is just a small sacrifice for both of us. I love you so much. We wouldn't have lasted this long if we weren't meant to be. You'll only be away for a year, and then we'll walk down the aisle. We'll start over. What would you do in her place? Keep watching Dark Voices to see how this betrayal unfolds. In the end, she relented and gave Daniel what he wanted, mostly because he had already accepted half of the payment from this mysterious man who wanted a child. Together, they went to pay off his debts with the money he'd received, and seeing that transaction made her realize how useless she was to Daniel's life. She had sacrificed nothing for him. She had done nothing to improve his life. So, in the end, she agreed, no matter how immoral or disgusting it felt. She held on to his words of love and his promise that they would marry and leave this place for good. Despite all his cruelty, her love for him prevailed, and she believed there was no other way out. That was how much of a martyr she was. A week after Isabelle had agreed to Daniel's plan, a luxurious car pulled up outside their tiny house. Their place was so small, and the neighbors were so close, that she could already hear them gossiping outside. Oh, wow, a fancy car is outside Daniel's house. What's that about? No idea, but I heard Daniel paid off all his debts around here, so maybe his life just got better with his live-in partner. How'd that happen? We all know Daniel doesn't have a decent job, and his live-in partner only does laundry for people. Maybe they did something illegal. Isabelle closed her eyes upon hearing that and took a deep breath. Your ride is here, Isabelle, Daniel said, coming up to her. I know this is hard, but believe me, it's hard for me too. I hate thinking about my girl being touched by another man. Your body is only mine. Now someone else will experience it, and your womb, which should have been for me, will benefit someone else. But remember, it's not a sin. I'm the one pushing you to do this. Don't worry, I'll pull you back to me when it's all done. When he hugged her, she closed her eyes as her heart pounded in pain. She hated doing this too. She could hardly stand the idea of letting some other man get her pregnant, but she held on to Daniel's promises and got in the fancy car, feeling like a dog cowering in the corner while onlookers gawked at her. Inside, she wearily glanced at the man seated across from her. He was an older, bald man, which made her assume he was the one who needed a child and had paid for her. If this was him, she thought, it made sense. He was older, probably just wanted a child. She imagined being in bed with him and shuddered. No, said the bald man. I'm just Mr. Wilson, the butler. I was told by Mr. Harrington to pick you up and bring you to the mansion, where you'll be cleaned up. She wrinkled her nose at the mention of cleaning, looking at her own body. She grew self-conscious. Don't take it the wrong way, the butler added, noticing her reaction. My employer is extremely particular. Besides bathing, there will also be a medical check. That's for both your safety. What does your employer look like? She asked. She pictured a wealthy man with a huge belly, dripping with jewelry, the type who lights cigars with money, probably an older guy with nowhere else to throw his money, she mused silently. Mr. Wilson nodded. He's quite wealthy, and he hates dirt. You're also too skinny. My boss might be upset by that, so get ready to eat a lot once you're at the mansion. She managed a small nod and bit her lip, suddenly feeling sorry for herself. Ever since she started living with Daniel, she'd lost her luster. Fairy tales don't exist when you're dirt poor and living off scraps. She lost all her sparkle. Does your employer not have a wife? She asked, unable to hide her curiosity. No wife, the butler replied. She breathed a sigh of relief and nodded. At least she wouldn't be mistaken for a homewrecker. When they arrived at the mansion, she followed behind Mr. Wilson, glancing around in awe at the elegant decor. She had never seen a place like it, 2 grand staircases leading to the second floor and a sparkling chandelier that practically screamed money. Even the tiles seemed expensive. Suddenly, the butler stopped, standing in a line with several house staff, with an older woman at the front eyeing Isabelle critically. She's here? Asked the stern-looking older woman. Yes, Mr. Wilson replied, then turned to Isabelle. This is as far as I go. Mrs. Baker will take over from here. Isabelle looked at the older woman, who had one eyebrow raised. So, you're the one meant to give him a child, she said curtly. You're too skinny, like a gust of wind. Isabelle felt offended but answered politely, I'm sorry, ma'am, I no need to finish. Mrs. Baker cut her off. He bought you, so you're just a womb for hire until he discards you. Isabelle fumed internally. Not only was she called too skinny, but this older woman insulted her outright. Yet, she stayed quiet. Follow me, Mrs. Baker said. We need to clean you before you meet Mr. Harrington. That's not necessary, ma'am. I can bathe myself, Isabelle insisted. Don't talk back. You were purchased, Mrs. Baker said with one eyebrow arched. She signaled the house staff behind her. Immediately, they grabbed Isabelle by the arms and dragged her into a room. She screamed when they began stripping off her clothes. What? Wait, she protested, covering herself in an attempt to maintain some dignity. I can do it myself. They ignored her, removing everything. Isabelle closed her eyes in shame as she was left naked in the bath. 3 maids hovered, scrubbing her until she felt like they'd peel her skin off. She never imagined this kind of humiliation unless someone was bedridden or incapacitated. But here she was, perfectly capable, yet forced into this bizarre routine. After her bath, they led her to a room with clothing laid out for her to wear. She turned to the maids. I can put my clothes on by myself, ladies, she said. That's not allowed, ma'am, one of the maids replied hesitantly. Mr. Harrington specifically instructed. I don't care what your boss said, Isabelle cut her off in frustration, raising her voice. I let you bathe me, so you've already seen everything. Isn't that enough? Don't I have any privacy at all just because I was bought? They fell silent, and Isabelle immediately felt guilty, but she needed to stand up for herself. I can do this, she said more calmly. Please, just let me dress in private. But, ma'am, one maid mumbled, you still have hair down there. Don't worry about my body hair, Isabelle said. I'll handle it. Just give me this one bit of privacy. The 3 maids blinked at her, left with no choice. They stepped out of the room. Isabelle sighed in relief and grabbed the outfit waiting for her. A single towel was wrapped around her body, and the air conditioning made her shiver. She looked for a door leading to a private bathroom and slipped in, carefully removing her towel. Suddenly, she noticed a pair of feet on the other side of a curtain. Heart pounding, she yanked the curtain aside, only to find a man, completely naked, showering. She froze, eyes going wide at the sight of his bare form. Reflexively, she looked down and saw a very erect part of him. She screamed, ah! She turned to flee but slammed face-first into the closed bathroom door, momentarily dizzying herself. She fumbled with the doorknob, but the man's hand suddenly pressed against the door, shutting it again. She gasped and turned around to face him. Who are you? He asked, brows drawn together. I didn't mean to, I didn't see anything, she lied, though her eyes had clearly taken in everything. She glanced down again and saw that he was still very much aroused. She nearly screamed once more, but he covered her mouth. Are you the one I bought? He asked. She nodded, too rattled to speak. He smirked slightly and removed his hand from her mouth. What are you doing here? It's not time yet for you to do your job. You still have documents to sign. I didn't know anyone was here, she stammered. I just needed to get dressed, sir. I'll go now. Sorry, I didn't see anything, really. She gripped the doorknob and dashed out, breathing heavily once she escaped. Yes, she had seen male anatomy before Daniel's, but never one that big, and never in bright lighting. She dressed in another room and tried to steady her thoughts. She couldn't believe how young the man was. She'd been expecting someone older with a big belly, but this was the opposite. He looked under 30, with abs and muscles. Why would he pay for something he could easily get for free with looks like his? Plenty of women would line up to have his child. Later, Isabelle sat on a sofa in the mansion's large living room. Mrs. Baker told her to wait there for Mr. Harrington, who wanted to discuss something. The maids had fed her, and she almost ate the plate itself because the food was so delicious. Still, she felt uneasy about facing the man after that bathroom incident. "Good evening, Mr. Harrington," one of the staff greeted. Isabelle looked up and saw the young man from the bathroom entering the room. The staff bowed to him as though he were a prince. He took a seat across from her, regarding her carefully. He placed a folder on the coffee table, drawing her attention. "Let's not waste time, Miss Isabelle Thomas. I need a child, and this folder contains a contract between us." She picked up the folder and flipped through it. There was indeed a contract, an awful lot of pages. "Sign it," he said curtly, crossing his arms. "I'll summarize it for you so you don't have to read every page. It would take you a month." She nodded, swallowing hard. "You have 1 year. The purpose is for you to become pregnant with my child, nothing else. While you're here, don't think about anyone else, only me and your job of giving me an heir." "If I give you what you want, can I go back to my boyfriend?" she asked anxiously. His jaw tightened, but he nodded. "Yes." She bit her lower lip. "Why?" He smirked at her. "You really plan to go back to that boyfriend who sold you to me?" "We're going to get married after this," she said. "So don't worry, sir. I'll give you what you want, a child. Your money won't go to waste." She picked up the pen and signed, not giving it a second thought. Nicholas sat in his home office, staring darkly at his computer screen. He was there with Mr. Wilson, the butler, and Mrs. Baker, who had just set some wine on the desk. Nicholas clenched his jaw, remembering Isabelle's words. She would go back to her boyfriend, Daniel, after all this. He almost broke the pen in his hand out of anger. He had wanted Isabelle for so long, and now that he finally had her, she still planned to return to that worthless boyfriend. Well, he wasn't going to let that happen once she learned the truth about Daniel. He glanced at the butler. "You saw that Daniel guy, right? You mean the boyfriend of the woman you've been interested in?" Mr. Wilson asked. "Yes," Nicholas confirmed, trying to contain his frustration. He recalled how he had met Isabelle 2 years ago at a casino. She had gone there searching for Daniel, who was deep in gambling debt. The moment Nicholas saw her, he was smitten, but his heart sank when he learned she already had a live-in boyfriend. Still, he waited, hoping she'd come to her senses and leave Daniel, but she never did. One day, he overheard Daniel complaining in the casino's hallway. "Man, I can't catch a break," Daniel muttered. "This is horrible." Sensing trouble, Nicholas followed him, guessing Daniel might vent his frustrations on Isabelle later. "Daniel," Nicholas said quietly, causing him to turn around in surprise. "Sir Nicholas, are you all right?" Daniel asked, trying to stand up straighter. Nicholas sized him up. "Your frustration is obvious." "I'm just stressed because I'm losing at the tables, plus I'm being chased by my lenders," Daniel admitted. "I don't even have money for food. My girlfriend washes clothes, but that's barely enough to feed us." Nicholas narrowed his eyes. "Why do you let your girlfriend do laundry to support you both? Isn't that your job?" Daniel just sighed. "You're lucky, sir. You don't worry about money, unlike me, who had to borrow just to enjoy life. This might be my last visit to the casino. I'm in too deep." Nicholas studied him quietly. Daniel suddenly brightened. "Sir, could you lend me some money?" "You don't need a loan," Nicholas said, smiling coldly. "I can give you money to pay off your debts. All you have to do is sell me something." Daniel's brows creased. "Tell you what, I've got nothing. I'm broke." "It doesn't have to be a thing, Mr. Daniel," Nicholas replied. "Think about what's in your life that's nothing but a burden and worthless, something or someone you can sell." Daniel stood there, clearly stumped. "I need a child," Nicholas explained. "If you know a woman who'd be willing to sell herself, let me know." He handed Daniel a business card. "I don't have a wife, and I want a child. If you know someone who's open to carrying my baby, call me." He turned and walked away. After 2 weeks, Nicholas finally received a call. Desperation had apparently pushed Daniel that far. "Sir, is your offer still valid?" Daniel asked. "You said you'd buy someone to give you a child." "Yes," Nicholas replied. "You found someone?" "Yes, sir. My girlfriend, Isabelle." Daniel's voice sounded shaky. "I'm infertile, so she'll never have a baby with me, but she can still use her womb for you. She's a good woman, sir, and she's pretty too. She'll give you a good-looking kid. I just really need the money. They might kill me if I don't pay." Nicholas wanted to punch something. This was the man Isabelle loved. "All right," Nicholas said flatly. "How much do you want?" "She's worth a lot, sir," Daniel said, "but I need a down payment first. I'm desperate." "Fine," Nicholas agreed. "Send me your bank account info. I'll transfer half the payment right away." Nicholas almost laughed out loud at the memory, which made Mr. Wilson and Mrs. Baker look at him strangely. What promise had Daniel dangled in front of Isabelle to make her believe they'd marry after all this? Nicholas was no fool. He'd slipped a marriage contract among those documents she'd signed, hidden amid the rest. Once she found out the truth, it would be too late. She was his, and she wouldn't be returning to Daniel. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number. A woman answered in a sultry tone. "Nicholas, you called." She let out a moan, and Nicholas frowned when he realized he was on speaker. "Never mind," Nicholas snapped. "Wait, Mr. Nicholas," she purred, and he could hear her shooing away whoever was with her. "I'm telling you to leave, shoo." Then she refocused on the call. "All right, sir, what do you need?" "I have a job for you," Nicholas said. "Oh, what kind of job?" "A blow job," she teased, laughing. Nicholas gritted his teeth. "Stop messing around." All right," the woman replied. "What do you need me to do?" "Daniel Cruz," Nicholas said. "Seduce him." She giggled. "So, you want me to go after the boyfriend of that girl you're crazy about?" "Wow, Nicholas, your obsession runs deep." "Just do it," he said simply. "That's all you need to know." He hung up and leaned back in his swivel chair, closing his eyes. He'd waited too long for Isabelle. Now she was here, and she thought she would leave afterward. She wouldn't, not if he had anything to do with it. While Isabelle was still reeling from the contract, the mansion staff treated her like a princess, completely opposite of how Daniel treated her. She never had to do chores here. Back in Daniel's place, she did everything. Whenever she tried to help the maids at the mansion, Mrs. Baker would get mad. If she left her laundry for even a moment, someone else would already wash it. She wasn't used to such luxury. It made her uneasy. Meanwhile, Mr. Harrington Nicholas was busy working, but they always ate together. It was the one unbreakable rule. He insisted they share meal times. Even so, she was still curious. Why did someone with his looks and money need to buy a woman for a child? One evening, he strode into her room with an air of command. "We're going out," he said. "Get dressed." "Where are we going?" Isabelle asked. She was surprised. In 2 weeks living there, he'd never taken her anywhere. "You want to see your ex, right?" he said casually. "I'll allow it. I'm guessing you want to know how he's doing since you have no phone to keep in touch." Her eyes widened. "Really?" "Yes," he replied, "but this will be the first and last time. Remember the contract." She nodded eagerly, excitement lighting her face for the first time in days. In the car, they were silent for a while. Eventually, she cleared her throat. "So, you really just need a child?" she asked, breaking the silence. "Yes," Nicholas said, glancing at her briefly before returning his attention to the road. "Why not get a girlfriend who could give you that? Why buy someone who already has a boyfriend?" "I don't have a girlfriend," he answered simply. She sighed. "Thank you for letting me do this. I really want to see how Daniel is doing. I haven't heard from him, and I've been worried." "You really love him, huh?" Nicholas said quietly. She nodded. Yes, very much. Even though I hate doing this, I'm doing it for him. Nicholas said nothing more. The rest of the ride passed in silence. When they arrived at her old neighborhood, Isabelle thanked him and got out of the car carefully. Immediately, some neighbors gawked at the expensive vehicle. My, Isabelle, you look fancy now, one neighbor called out. You know Daniel, but before the neighbor could finish, a car door slammed. Nicholas had stepped out too, glaring in their direction. Isabelle said nothing more, just hurried towards the small house she once shared with Daniel. She saw empty bottles and trash scattered around. He's been drinking, she thought nervously. Then she heard a woman's voice from the bedroom. Oh, Daniel, you feel amazing. Her world seemed to stop. Maybe she'd misheard, but the moans only grew louder, confirming what was happening. Trying to keep calm, she approached the bedroom door and pushed it open. Inside, two people froze mid-act upon seeing her. Daniel lay in bed with a woman on top of him, eyes wide in shock. The woman turned her head, equally startled. Hi, the stranger said in a husky voice. The woman smiled. Oh, and who might you be? Isabelle stood there in disbelief, staring at Daniel, who immediately pushed the other woman off him. The woman complained as she tumbled aside. Isabelle's heart pounded, and tears started slipping down her cheeks. Isabelle, Daniel said, scrambling to get dressed. She walked out of the bedroom, but Daniel rushed after her and blocked her exit. This is why you sold me, isn't it? Isabelle cried, pushing him away. So you could pay your debts and do whatever you wanted? I only agreed to this because I trusted you, Daniel. Isabelle, no, he protested, shaking his head. She choked on her tears. It's only been 2 weeks, and I came here to see how you're doing, and I find you doing this with someone else. It's nothing, Isabelle, believe me, Daniel insisted. I was just drunk, and why did you leave me in the first place? Isabelle turned toward the woman, now fully dressed. The woman didn't seem scared or bothered in the slightest. She was even grinning, as if this were completely normal. You didn't seem to be complaining a few minutes ago, the woman teased. By the way, girl, your boyfriend told me how much he missed you. No joke, he said you're boring, so he brought me to this pathetic little house. He told me you'd only be gone for a year anyway. Shut up, Chloe, Daniel snapped. Why should I? After you got your fill under me, now you're telling me to hush? Chloe shot back. Isabelle clenched her fists. Daniel, I trusted you, she cried. I gave you everything. You've already hurt me so many times, but I stayed because I loved you. This is the worst thing you've ever done to me. Isabelle, don't say we're breaking up, Daniel pleaded. I've had enough, she replied firmly, shaking her head. I couldn't even accept that you sold me, but now you pull this too? It's better if we end this. She tried to walk past him, but he grabbed her arm hard. No, we're not breaking up. What, did you fall for that Nicholas guy? Daniel growled. No way, you're not leaving me. You're just supposed to get pregnant by Nicholas, then come back to me. I'm not coming back. Let go of me. Isabelle yelled. She wrenched herself free from his grasp and ran out of the house. Isabelle. Isabelle, come back. Come back here. Daniel shouted after her. She ran straight to the car where Nicholas waited. When Daniel caught sight of him, he stopped in his tracks. Nicholas Harrington, Daniel muttered. It's nice to see you again. Meanwhile, Chloe clung to Daniel's side like a leech. Come on, honey, let's go back inside, she coaxed, holding him tight. Daniel glared at Nicholas. Hey, don't just drive away with Isabelle. We still need to talk. There's nothing left to discuss, Isabelle said, shaking her head. She looked at Nicholas. Can we leave now, please? I don't want to stay here. Nicholas gave Daniel a faint grin. All right. He opened the passenger door for Isabelle, and she climbed in. They left, and Isabelle sat stunned, her heart still aching. Nicholas kept his eyes on the road, silent.
Daniel obviously didn't love her anymore. He had proven that.
She'd been naive to hold on to his promises. "Let's do it," she said suddenly, her voice hollow. Nicholas slammed on the brakes so hard that Isabelle nearly bumped her head. He turned to her.
"What?"
She wiped away a tear and looked at him.
"Let's make that baby you want. Let's get it over with." He gripped the steering wheel. "Do you want a drink?" he asked bluntly. "You have plans tonight, don't you?" she asked in a subdued tone.
"I'll cancel them," he replied, driving off again. Isabelle was never much of a drinker, but she suddenly felt the need. She had finally found the courage to leave Daniel, and it still hurt like crazy. Maybe she needed something to numb the pain. The bar Nicholas chose was deafeningly loud, packed with people enjoying themselves. Isabelle's ears rang from the music, and she cringed at the sight of a couple making out near the wall. She simply followed Nicholas as he guided her to 2 seats at the bar.
"What do you want to drink?" he asked. "Something strong."
"Strong enough to make me forget everything I saw tonight," she said.
"I want to erase it from my mind." "All right," Nicholas said, signaling the bartender.
Soon, a single glass of brightly colored liquor appeared in front of her. It looked innocent, almost like juice, but she'd seen the bartender make it. It was far from harmless. Isabelle stared at it, took a deep breath, and downed it in one gulp. The burning taste nearly made her soul leave her body. Nicholas watched her quietly. After seeing Daniel's betrayal, she was even more devastated than before. His plan to expose Daniel had obviously worked, but he hadn't expected Daniel would be so cruel or that Isabelle would be so shattered. Instead of forgetting her pain, the alcohol made her sob openly. She slammed back another shot. When Nicholas tried to stop her, "Don't stop me," she exclaimed.
"You men are all the same.
You see someone prettier, and you abandon the woman who stood by you for years. You're all alike." She took another swig. "Loneliness, loneliness," she babbled at one point, singing some random melody, then laughed to herself, then cried again, and at times switched to bizarre English phrases. Nicholas's phone rang, and he stepped away to take the call.
"Hello?"
"Hey, Mr. Harrington," came Chloe's voice on the other line.
"You said you'd help me out, right? Am I good now?"
"You're doing fine," Nicholas said, lowering his voice to keep her from hearing the bar's noise.
"I've taken care of your debts." "Really?
Thank you. Don't worry, I'll keep Daniel away from Isabelle. I'll help you get your happy ending, just like you helped me with the money for my mom's treatment." Nicholas ended the call with a sigh, then blocked Chloe's number. He felt a twist of guilt. Chloe had apparently just taken a beating from Daniel. He couldn't have predicted Daniel would actually hurt another woman. When Nicholas returned to the bar, Isabelle was gone from her seat. Panicking, he looked around. "Looking for your friend, sir?" the bartender asked. He pointed at the stage. "She's over there." Nicholas followed his gaze and saw Isabelle standing under the spotlight, holding a microphone. "Hey, all you men," she shouted, clearly drunk. "You're all the same, scumbags. You break women's hearts. You're all ugly." A few men glared at her in offense. Nicholas hurried onto the stage. He scooped her up like a sack of flour, carrying her off.
"Ah! Put me down!" Isabelle cried, thrashing. "I'm not done talking."
He ignored her and rushed outside, finally setting her on her feet in the fresh air. "Help!" she yelled.
"He's kidnapping me."
Nicholas just shook his head, exasperated, and hurried her to his car. She was far too drunk to stay out in public. He buckled her in, vowing to make sure she wouldn't do anything dangerous. By the time Isabelle woke, her head felt better than expected, but she wasn't in her usual room.
"Good morning." "You're awake," said Miss Cora, entering with a tray of food. "Whose room is this?" Isabelle asked. "Did I sleep here all night?"
"You were very drunk last night, so Mr. Harrington put you here," Miss Cora explained.
"Why'd you drink so much?"
"Nicholas was up all night taking care of you.
He's exhausted." Isabelle felt a stab of guilt. "I'm sorry."
"I didn't mean, no need to apologize to me," Miss Cora said, "but maybe you should repay Nicholas's kindness somehow. You threw up quite a lot, dear, practically a gallon of it." Isabelle cringed at the thought. She jumped out of bed, determined to find Nicholas and thank him. She made her way to his home office and found him slumped over the desk, fast asleep. When she got closer, she noticed his hair was still damp, as though he'd showered but hadn't fully dried off. "He must be so tired," she whispered. She felt a pang of sympathy. He actually looked sweet when he was asleep. She reached out impulsively to brush his hair aside, but she gasped when a hand grabbed her wrist. Nicholas blinked awake, letting go of her hand.
"What are you doing here?"
"I'm sorry," she said awkwardly, stepping back.
"Did I wake you? You should sleep in your own bed."
He straightened up, clearly tired. "I slept just fine," he muttered, releasing her hand. "Does your head hurt?" she asked, her voice meek.
He just shook his head. "No, I'm fine."
He yawned, then stood, almost stumbling.
Isabelle caught his arm. "Watch out."
"I'm really sorry I kept you up," she said, genuinely concerned.
"I want to make it up to you somehow." "It's fine," he insisted.
She shook her head.
"No, really.
You took care of me all night.
Let me do something. I'll cook you something nice, okay? Please." "You don't have to," Nicholas said. "I want to," Isabelle insisted. "I can cook well. Let me."
He looked at her face and swallowed hard. "Okay," he agreed softly, "but let me get some rest first."
While Nicholas slept, Isabelle headed to the kitchen to argue with Miss Cora.
She was determined to cook, but Miss Cora refused at first. "You don't need to do that," Miss Cora scolded.
"We have a chef." "Please, let me," Isabelle begged.
"I won't hurt him, I promise."
"If you're worried, you can taste it first. See, no poison." Miss Cora sighed.
"All right, but don't cut yourself."
"Mr. Harrington will have our heads if you do." "I won't," Isabelle promised gratefully.
She decided to make soup. The mansion's kitchen was fully stocked, so she didn't need to shop for anything.
The other staff hovered nearby, curious and probably making sure she wasn't up to anything suspicious. Miss Cora had apparently told them, "If you kill Mr. Harrington, you'll inherit everything," which made Isabelle laugh.
She wasn't his wife, so that was impossible. When she finished cooking, she scooped some soup into a bowl. She made a show of tasting it first.
"See, no poison," she joked. She noticed one of the maids eyeing it hungrily.
The moment she left to bring it upstairs, the rest descended on the pot, finishing it off.
Nicholas was still asleep, so she quietly set the tray on the side table.